South Boston Speedway. It's been a long-time series staple for many campaigns, and known for its long runs and some underdog runs. Well, except for December, when you count in the 10 caution race, which seen plenty of incidents. Tonight, though, is the matter of different stories, where it's a chance for drivers to try and break away in the championship standings, and a chance for drivers to see how they do at a track known for its long runs overall in the history of the campaign, as well as its high tire wear. We're about to find out to see who can come away with the checker flag here on the Global SimRacing Channel as we say good evening, everyone, and welcome to the virtual South Boston Speedway for round 4 of the 2021 Season 1 campaign for the Bootleg Racing League's Grand National Series. I'm Justin Prince. Along some of the booth tonight is DJ Clark. Also be joined by Devin Henry, behind the scenes star director Sean Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. This has been a track that's been on the schedule for every season in the history of the Grand National Series. Let's learn more about South Boston with our GSRC track guide.
Welcome to South Boston, Virginia, and perhaps the most well-known short track to iRacers, South Boston Speedway. Opened in 1957, this 4/10-mile track with limited banking is where many of the old drivers in iRacing got their start. The track served as an original launch partner with the service and has long been a hotbed of Legend Series drivers learning the ropes on the sim. South Boston is a challenging short track. Your best success usually comes hugging that yellow line. But buyer beware, pit walls extend into turns 1 and 3, and they are unforgiving. And even more daunting, perhaps, the barriers protecting the pit entrance off turn 4, which are sure to end your race if you spin low on corner exit. Located in the heart of NASCAR country, Sobo, as it's locally known, hosted the Cup Series up until 1971, with the Xfinity Series and the NASCAR trucks racing here into the 2000s. Today, Sobo's a favorite of drivers in the NASCAR modified ranks. It's also seen frequent visits from the former NASCAR East Series. The track also plays host to weekly NASCAR late model action and other touring late model and super late model events as well. On a Saturday night at South Boston, you're likely to see a future NASCAR star. Sobo has served as a proving ground for future NASCAR winners and champions. That's your look at South Boston Speedway. Now it's your turn to try to conquer Sobo. Let's go short track racing.
That was a look at our GSRC track guide for South Boston Speedway. Now let's bring my first broadcast partner for tonight, DJ Clark, as we get ready for tonight's action. Your expectations here, as this is a track that's been a series staple. Every single campaign that's talked about has seen this track on the calendar.
Well, Justin, it is a series staple for a reason. These ARCA cars make it onto this track like a duck into water. They absolutely love it. We've seen a little bit of the ability to run on a higher groove here, but for the most part, this is going to be a single groove race, so it's a lot like we've seen in previous entries where you've got to try to dive off of the corner, get a good head of momentum, and stick your nose down the inside to force an issue. But you said it at the top. The number one thing here at South Boston is tire wear, tire wear, tire wear. You cannot make a tire change in the course of this series, and I think we are going to see the cream rise to the top in terms of those drivers who are able to make the tires last longer tonight.
Heard a little bit of a hint of that pool that's just off the edge of turn 1. We'll have to see if any drivers can avoid staying out of that pool. You see just over top one of the main boxes you see on turn 1. But for these drivers, they're competing, of course, for the championship, which is very tight. Entering tonight's action, where it's J.R. Shepard with a 2-point advantage over Kenny Kibbe. It's a 6-point advantage over Justin Morden. Then it's 16 points back to Rubenalti, 17 points officially to James Lowe on the pylon. So a bit of separation amongst those various drivers, but for J.R. Shepard, Kenny Kibbe, and Justin Morden, they're the favorites so far early on, especially after Lowe's disastrous last round. Speaking of this round, Devin, let's take a look at the race details as we get ready to go racing at South Boston.
DJ already talked about 100 lap race, not a single tire change when it comes to the Bootleg Racing League. That makes all 11 rounds a ton of fun to watch, but right here in round number 4 at Sobo, you might just need that one fast repair at some time. Yeah, only a 4/10 mile track, banked at about 10 degrees, but the biggest thing about this track, well, it's only 45 foot wide across the track all the way around, and sometimes you're going to see the cars using all 45. And maybe most important, what makes this series a lot of fun, comes with the starting grid. No qualifying. The top 8 tonight are an invert from the top 8 last week, and then everyone else, you start where you finished, excluding anyone who may not have been at last week's race or those at last week's race who did not show up tonight. But DJ mentioned this is likely a one-groove track. It typically is. In this series, we have seen in the past this race have that outside lane come in. But something else that's going to make tonight very difficult is the fact that it's pretty warm out here in Virginia. 88 degrees in sim. The track temperature just about right above 90. So the weather not necessarily going to help these guys either, especially once you're on 80-lap old tires.
Very hot track, very hot air temps. The in-sim day is May 15th, 2021, and it is expected to be towards where the lights could turn on towards the later portions of this race in-sim time, just past 7 p.m. And DJ, we talked about already the high tire wear here. The added factor now is it's going to be very slick at a track that, if you have an incident, it can very much bottleneck around the corners. That's what happened where there was the 42 caution laps the last time this series was here.
Yeah, that's right, Justin. It can really, really get tight very, very fast. One guy spins out. There's not a lot of room for anybody to get out of the way. So seeing parts of this track develop into a parking lot is very common. And what we're going to have to be watching for, like we've seen in the past couple of weeks, I think, is going to be the corner exits. We've seen it a couple of times during practice here today as we ride on board with Ruben Altis, that you get on the power a little bit too early coming out of those corners, and the car will start to over-rotate and spin around. So that's going to be the real danger zone for these drivers. Is Altis, they're almost doing exactly what I said and losing it off of turn 4.
Curling the mix to final practice, by the way, as these preparations are to make sure everyone understands the track and make sure to prepare for tonight. James Lowe is at the top of the board with the 15.635, followed by Kenny Kibbe, J.R. Shepard, Altis, and Todd Liston, your top 5. Take a look at Kenny Kibbe. Just finished second in the modified race earlier tonight, too. James Lowe and his new look number 99 machine for tonight, Devin. 2 very quick drivers. The other driver in that mix, J.R. Shepard, well, he's won here several times. In fact, the past couple times, he's come away with the checker flag. Shepard has here.
Shepard with that sharp new paint scheme. The past 4 seasons, South Boston was the championship race, and most of the time, though, the championship was already decided in favor of J.R. Shepard. Won the first 3 championships, but last year, no drop weeks for the first time ever. He had to miss a race, and so he came into Sobo. Usually, there's no points because he already clinched it. Last season, he didn't have to worry about points because he was already eliminated. So, in a way, it's kind of like how Homestead got bounced back in the NASCAR schedule from the championship to early in the year. It's kind of similar, but I don't even think that Sobo being moved back in the schedule is necessarily going to change the mindsets of drivers. But I do know for a fact that J.R. Shepard knows that this is a track where you can go out and try to extend this points lead, try to grab Grand National Championship number 4.
Absolutely, this has been a close season so far, though, as we've seen DJ. And this is a track, too, where, keep in mind, drivers like Holloway, like Liston, have historically had good runs here. In the past, it's a track where underdogs can prevail if you get a long enough run.
Most certainly, and we talked about it a little bit last week, but I think this is the race that we could see somebody really start to challenge J.R. Shepard for that top spot. Obviously, Kenny Kibbe, his closest championship rival, but a lot of these guys are going to be looking for something different here today. I think one guy to keep an eye on that we normally talk about is Justin Morton. We normally talk about how he struggles a little bit with tire wear, but it's something that he has been aware of and he's been really working to do. So that may be something to watch. Also, another one, Austin Belke. Austin's had a bit of a bad run in the last 2 weeks since I've started singling him out, frankly, as a driver to watch, and his skills getting better and better all the time. But Austin, I think, could be in for a good run here tonight. Seems to suit his driving style a little bit.
going on board with some of these drivers to make the way around the racetrack, and you can tell as well on top of things, Devin, a very bottom-dominant track. You lose the bottom here, it can be very difficult to carry momentum, especially with how tight, as you talked about, those straightaways can be.
Oh, it is very scary. I don't know if you guys ran. I think that D-Class ARCA ran this. It must have been a few weeks ago by now, but you know, when you run that race, you get stuck on the outside. Sometimes your biggest concern is what happens when there's an accident. Because more times than not, with how close the wall is on the inside, the cars are going to come flying up the track. So if someone comes flying up the track in the middle of the corner in front of you, there's nowhere that you're going to be able to go. Likewise, if someone has too much gas on exit and the tire wear is wearing out, they're going to slide at the track as well before hurtling back down. So not only when you're driving the outside are you at a disadvantage and you can completely just get absolutely railroaded, but on the other hand, it might even make you more liable to get stuck in a wreck that you have no part in. So the less time that you can spend up on the top side, typically the better.
We talked about a bit about some of the new looks for tonight. Some drivers taking some different appearances for this race, DJ. We mentioned, for example, James Lowe. He's taken a bit of a new look for tonight. Mike Holloway driving the MAV TV machine. He's somebody to keep an eye on, we talked about, for tonight. He's been involved in NASCAR media in the past, including as a photographer. So curious to see how he does as well. You also have Austin Belkey going back to one of Jeff Gordon's Pepsi schemes, while you also, on top of things, have another different scheme that you may not normally expect to see. Mike Allen is throwing back to one of the old paint schemes from the mid-2000s, back from what is now the NASCAR Xfinity Series, one of the Orioles Ritz cars.
Yeah, all these guys are always having good fun with it, and nice job with him, especially on the chrome numbering there. I think that really starts to bring it out as we ride on board with Mike right up behind that MAV TV machine you talked about earlier. And I know I've been harping on Austin Belkey and maybe fanboying a little bit, but I do have to say I love his consistency this year of every week coming up with a new Gordon scheme to be running. We talked about a couple of weeks ago, he was running one of the rarest die casts. This obviously not the traditional Rainbow Warrior, but the main Pepsi scheme for him. So Belkey clearly having some fun and doing some very, very good representation of those good mid-2000s schemes.
And guys, being a West Coast guy, I gotta call out Herzog here. I mean, bringing the In-N-Out Burger logo out to the east side. They can't get hamburgers over here, so Herzog is bringing the logo at the very least here to Virginia. Virtual Virginia, mind you.
Had some good speed last week too, Devin, with that race car. He's been having some decent runs so far to start off 2021 Season 1.
Absolutely. And also, DJ talked about the chrome numbers. You got to give a shout out to the pioneer in this year's the chrome number, Joe Segala. He had that black and green 81 with that really nice chrome. It was like two-tone chrome number font. Of course, now he no longer has. They switched to this paint scheme earlier last season, but this was the guy who pioneered the chrome number in BRL. And there's 5 cars out here tonight with the chrome numbers. So got to give him a little bit of props for kind of starting that in this league, I guess. It's caught on.
It's going to be interesting how this plays out for tonight's action for some of these drivers. There is one driver to mention, though, Devin. I want to turn to you for this. Steven Spieth, making one of his first starts of the season. The 55 is 11th best in practice as well.
And we love seeing Steven Spieth, preferably not head first in the wall like that, but it's fun to watch him in the Dirt Street Stock Series at the very least that we also have here on GSRC on Friday nights. And we're used to seeing him try to just manhandle those Dirt Street Stocks, and sometimes him and Justin Morton will try to manhandle him here at Sobo. And maybe not the most consistent driver, but he can definitely be a threat running up front. Steven Spieth will be a guy to watch anytime you come to the track here in BRL.
Overall, 32 points scored on the season, but it's a question of who will score some good points tonight. We're about to find out. As why don't we take a look at your starting grid for tonight's action. 15 drivers have made their way to the racetrack, with Ruben Altis being the first of those drivers to take the green flag tonight. Lowell Jewell starts on his outside in row 1. Row 2 features Austin Belkey and Justin Morton, while J.R. Shepard starts in 5th tonight. Kenny Kibbe rounds out the top 6 in row 3, with row 4 featuring Joe Segala and Mark Herzog. Row 5 is Mike Holloway, and Kurt Smith rounds out your top 10, DJ.
In 11th will be James Lowe, followed by Mike Allen. Todd Liston was starting to the inside of row 7, followed by Donnie Moore, and we just talked about him. Steven Spees will be starting all the way back in 15th to bring up the back of the field.
Yes, indeed. Today's action expected to be intense once more. Track temp has dropped indeed to 86 degrees Fahrenheit for the air, 90 for the track overall, and very windy, shockingly, as well here, Devin. 10-mile-an-hour gust to the southwest currently. That is gusting towards the start and finish line, going over the edge of turns 1 and 2.
That's interesting because at a super speedway, that can mean a lot. At a track so short like this, I don't know how much it can hurt you, but on old tires, I wouldn't be surprised if going into a corner, a little bit of crosswind like that might even push you out of the groove or just make you lose a little bit of time, because when you miss that yellow line on the bottom of a track like this, you can just let everyone behind you pull on up to that rear bumper.
Roberts getting all set to go for tonight. Robin Altice will be in control of the field. Lowell Jewell to his outside, who will take home race 4 of the season. Not to find out. iRacing official pace car dropping off in turns 3 and 4. Green flags up, we're underway. Lowell Jewell with a very bad start on the top.
Oh, he's very much caught out, but Ruben Altice able to jump very, very well. Austin Belkin sliding into third, but a good battle here developing between Justin Morton and J.R. Shepard as they dive through 3 and 4, but Morton losing out to that inside line.
J.R. Shepard loves this. Nice and cozy on the inside, while Dubitz Championship competitors Justin Morton and Kenny Kibbe are stuck on the outside. Morton will be able to fall in line here, but guys, Kenny Kibbe's going to have to fight his way on the outside here to get in line. Otherwise, he's going to lose a chunk of positions.
Clear by Joseph Gowan, nearly down the front straightaway in the first couple laps. Still can't get clear of his front fender, however. Mark Herzog is also trying to gain some ground on the top, while J.R. Shepard already lined up behind Belky. Lowell Jewell also struggling a bit off the corner, DJ, to start off on the short run.
Yeah, Lowell, a little bit like a cork in the bottle here, just blocking up some of the drivers ever so slightly. They're going to be very anxious to get by him as we ride on board with J.R. Shepard. There you see in front of him, that is Austin Belky. Shepard trying to fight down to the inside like I talked about at the beginning, but not able to find a way. Now looks to the outside.
Two big reasons to be patient in these cars. Number one, of course, is not wanting to burn up that right front. Reason number two, and arguably more important, is these cars' front bumpers do not like the rear bumpers of these cars. If you just even tap someone in the center of these corners, you are going to spin someone around. And while you don't like to do that to someone else's race, there is an opportunity that car spins back down into you, and you can make your night go from bad to worse in that instant. So, got to be patient here at the start of these races.
J.R. Shepard, known for his patience a lot of these times, and right now has been patient so far in this line. The back end of him as Belky missed the corner out of turn 2. Checked up the grouping, Justin Morton not able to take advantage to gain ground. Kimmy's been able to get clear of by Joe Sagala. James Lowe, one of your biggest movers, is already up to 8th spot. Your biggest overall is Todd Liston, plus 4.
Yeah, Lowe really putting some good pressure on here as we see that new paint scheme of his clearly giving him a few miles an hour as he starts to work ahead of him on the 57 of Mark Herzog, trying to get something going, but it's relatively single file here on the early going. I think everybody thinking about those tires and not wanting to do anything too drastic to wear them out.
And while you would think South Boston would be in Boston, Massachusetts, it's not. This is South Boston, Virginia, and James Lowe is from Portsmouth, Virginia. So kind of a home track here for the contractor. Number 99, hoping to get a win tonight in the middle of the season. That would certainly put him back on track to fight for a championship this year.
Battle for third is on, and J.R. Shepard elected to take the high side here, DJ, to make the move on. Belky makes it work as he's able to get the squeeze. You can defend a bit and get some runs if you squeeze on down, but as we talked about, not great for the tires. Belky seems to be struggling on exit.
Yeah, he really does. It looked like on those last couple of corners, he was getting that car just maybe a little bit too far down onto the yellow line, and now he is being passed like a sitting duck with Justin Morton on by him. Kenny Kibbe starting to take a look as well, so that outside lane at least working an advantage over the 24, but now as J.R. Shepard sets his sights on Lowell Jewell in second place, we'll have to see if he has to resort to the same move again.
DJ, that is just weird. Herzog here, we're on board with. Typically, you see guys being completely driven by on the inside, not the outside there. Belke had a very unusual sight out of his, I guess, right side windshield.
Taking a look from Mark Herzog, nearly had to shoot to the outside as well to get around Austin Belke. So Belke, you can see just on some of these corner exits, just seems to be struggling to arc it down, misses the yellow line, which is all that so important, DJ. And that costs him at least a car length per corner entry.
It does, but Justin, this battle for second getting very, very spicy. J.R. Shepherd trying to make some moves on Old Jewel, but that's bringing Justin Morton back into the mix. These three really starting to duke it out. Shepherd finally able to get down to the inside as Lowell runs into the outside wall.
So easy to do that here, Devin, is if you go up too high, you can end up getting that car stuck against the wall, and that's what Old Jewel had on that corner entry. It's opening up the cork in the bottle for Morton.
And that wall just eats the right front, and I don't mean the tire, I mean like it literally brings the side of the car into the wall, and it's hard to get off without spinning out. He's able to keep the car straight, but he's going to have to pay here because he is going to lose a boatload of positions now. As Ruben Altice still has about a 1.3 second advantage over Shepherd, but you never like seeing that green number 98 in the rearview mirror.
Right now, as you take a look from the back of Kenny Kibbe, who's also been able to get by Austin Belke's machine, Lowell Jewel. It's only dropped back to a battle for 6th position. Morton also doing a stellar job so far tonight in the short run. It's the matter of how he does in the long run that's always been so critical for him throughout the campaign, especially for this past 6 months or so, DJ, as we've talked about so much. This time, though, looks fairly balanced, has been able to keep the car nice and calm early, only 2 times fall-off.
Exactly, and we are about a fifth of the way through the race, and I think Justin is very much thinking about it, but he's got to play that sort of mid-range game, thinking about 2 aspects at the same time. He doesn't want to let J.R. Shepherd get too far in front of him, but there we see him take a little bit of a wider line through the corner, cutting back on it, just trying to find a little bit more speed around the multiple-time champion, just doing everything he can, but Justin is very cognizant of his tire troubles and trying to keep everything under control. We get closer to a quarter of the race done. I would expect some of the tire wear to really start rearing its ugly head, though, around lap 50 or so.
And Shepherd does just a great job making that rear bumper, that arc machine, so wide. It's difficult to get to the outside of JR, and you're definitely not going to get to the inside of him unless he makes a mistake. You see Morton trying to diamond off the exit of the corner, try to get a run and try to peek onto the left rear quarter panel. So see how high he is here? He's going to try to drift down and just try to get off the corner a little bit lower than JR. But with the tires still so fresh, it's just not really going to make a lot of difference because JR is going to keep those left sides down on that yellow line the whole time.
Taking a look from Justin Morton, you can see just how he's been able to center around. And the tough part on top of it, though, DJ, is we've seen it from the back end of Shepherd. He is using a ton of wheel off these corners, especially turn 4, with how he's been sliding it around. Some of his competitors are trying to keep it nice and smooth. And for the race lead, Shepherd trying to power it on the outside.
Well, he did it to Austin Belke. Can he do it again here to Ruben Altice? It certainly looks like it. Good power off the line. He is going to have a nose as they dive into 1. If he can keep the same momentum up, that'll work well for him. And Justin Morton thinking the same thing, trying to get around that chrome number 11 in through 3 and 4.
He got himself clear off in the corner and gets himself to the lead on lap number 27, coming to the start of lap 28. And now it's the matter of how Shepherd does for the rest of this run. Remember last week where it was talked about by some drivers that felt like they burned their stuff up early in some of those fights. And the consequences by lap 80 to lap 100. Battle for the race win is Kenny Kibbe trying to now clear by Altice. Just about does and will down the back straightaway. So 3 championship contenders all under a blanket with James Lowe, who was amongst those contenders prior to last week, trying to join them as well.
And you guys were both watching last week when Kenny Kibbe outlasted J.R. Shepherd, took the lead late, and just like you were talking about, Justin, using up your stuff too early, that's where Kenny Kibbe took advantage. Now staying in 3rd, yeah, he sits about 3/4 of a second behind your leader, but it brings up the question. How long do you wait? How much do you wait? How patient are you? I guess that's more than one question, but nonetheless, there's still a car between you and J.R. Shepherd. So can you do what you did last week, or do you need to hit that loud pedal a little sooner, maybe a little bit more, and Kibby ends up using too much of his stuff early on.
Kibby sending it fairly deep on top of things. Now is starting to back up the corner, trying a different line where he almost was trying to use a bit of the banking DJ as a ramp to try and get a run out of the corner compared to the others who are almost double apexing it.
Exactly, and it is a very good strategy in these ARCAs. You know, we always talk about how just heavy these cars are, and Kibby using the force of gravity, frankly, to try to eke out a couple more miles an hour. And Devin, to your point, I think that's very interesting, is now as Kibby gets very deep into 1 and 2, very interesting to think about when they're being patient on the tires and trying to hold it. I have to wonder if J.R. Shepherd maybe blew out a little bit too much of that tire life early on. Very uncharacteristically aggressive from him in the early stages of this race.
And you know, DJ, I think the same thing sometimes as Mormon actually brushes the wall there a little bit going into 3. Sometimes I go, man, JR just flew through the field. He's going too fast. The right rear is going to blow up on him. And you know what never happens? No one gets within about 2 seconds of him. So I don't know how he does it, DJ, but somehow, some way, finds a way to do exactly that.
Keep in mind that patience is always a virtue when it comes to these types of races. It's now everybody's trying that diamond line, it looks like. Now trying to take it second groove up for turn 1 and 2. Bit lower for the 3 and 4 line, with J.R. Shepherd taking the best out of anybody. Single file, top 12, separated by 5 seconds. The drivers who are losing touch to the rest of the pack of note is Joe Sagawa, Donnie Moore, Mike Allen, 13, 14, 15. They are up for grabs right now to be the first lockdown cars if we continue the trend of what happened the first 3 seasons here, Devin, where in the first few years in this series, just 3 caution flags in 3 races.
Yeah, you know what? Let's just go ahead and bring out the announcer's curse now. So the first time that these guys raced at South Boston, the Grand National Series, it was the championship race, and they had 0 cautions, 100 laps, wire to wire. Last time they raced here, 10. So that 0 was still uncommon. There was a 0 in both total cautions. And woo! Herzog goes up the track in the Belky, now opens the door up for Todd Liston. But this is looking like a different race so far. And now we're going to have a caution soon because I just said that. But nonetheless, 60 laps to go. And you got one strategy at this point when it comes down to, like we keep talking about, tire wear and how hard you push it early on.
For the back end, Mark Herzog as Todd Liston near contact with the 24. Drifts up and nearly hits his left rear. That could have been the disaster you were just talking about. Disaster is averted for now, though, as they're back single file.
Disaster is inevitable. Feel it.
Don't jinx it. Don't jinx it.
Well, you know what? At this point, guys, I want to talk strategy with you guys, because iRacing has many quirks about motorsport. Sean, if we can go on board in a car and looking off the turn 4, we don't get races like this, official or hosted very often, where you have the sun shining at you. So watch this car once it goes down to 3 and 4. I keep my settings low for this exact reason. Watch how much glare he gets. The entire first 45 laps, guys. Do you guys mess with your iRacing settings to not get vamped? That is nearly blinding when you are driving in these cockpits.
I know I don't, DJ.
I am not that intelligent to be able to think that far ahead, but you can bet I'm going to do it going forward.
Yeah, and that's just one more thing where iRacing, yeah, it's not real life racing, but you still get that right there, that sun glare that you do get in real life where it blinds you. And that's something where you can keep your settings low and not have the sparks flying at you or not have that deep sun glare at you. So there's extra strategies that you can have in iRacing that, I kind of compare it to mechanical failures. They don't happen in iRacing because, you know, it's not a real engine. But that's something that you can do that makes iRacing unique, that some competitors do, some competitors don't.
Mark Herzog able to pass right on by there, by the way, to the 11 machine. Altice has fallen off a cliff pace-wise after having about a 1 to 1.3 second or so lead. His tires are gone. He has already dropped nearly out of the inversion spots tonight. He is now battling for 8th position, make it 7. 8th position is coming up in real quick. And look who's also coming. It's Speeds, who's now trying to move to the outside to get around Mike Hallway.
Good move there from Speeds. There's some contact between Altice and Liston there. That's going to cost Altice a little bit more.
And he gets in the back end. Kurt Smith gets in the back end of Speeds. the back of the field, no caution. Now Speeds is around to the front stretch. This may trigger it, and yes, it does. First caution of the night, and it comes at halfway.
Well, that was a little painful to watch. That was a tough one.
Take a look at this, DJ, is they're getting very dicey with that contact first off there.
They were, and I think Steven Speeds just got a little bit overexcited and then had to check up through the corner, and then that caused the contact behind him, able to keep the car going here, but absolutely floored it, coming over that yellow stripe, going from the apron to the banking. There is no grip on that paint, and those tires just didn't want to grip, and that's what sent him spinning around.
And another thing there, DJ, pit road entry right there is actually flat, and then the front straightaway on this track has 10 degrees banking. I know it's minimal, but on 50-lap-old tires, that's still an elevation change moving on to that banking. And like you said, the paint has no grip either, and he's probably just full throttle on the gas trying to lose as little spots as he could there. But it even looked like to me that Kurt Smith thought that once again Speeds was going to go to the outside there. It didn't happen, and Kurt just had a lot of speed going in there. And now that brings up another question for the second half of this race. What will the lines look like here? We have seen guys passing on the outside. Will that stick around? Because this restart might just be the difference between finishing first tonight or maybe getting bumped out the podium.
There's a strong possibility at this point. 47 to go. Expecting about 46 green, or when we get back going, I should rather say. Speeds has lost a lap with the caution flag here. James Lowe is also in the conversation now as a result of his caution flag of note, DJ, where he, remember, won the first race here in the series' history.
Yeah, that's right.
First championship, rather, and has had some strong runs in the past year with the new look.
Most certainly, and I was going to say that this is one of James' favorite tracks, so he's going to be in some definite contention. He'll be lining up in that second row behind Justin Morton. And the thing that I'm going to be really keeping an eye on here is that battle with Kenny Kibbe, however. Kibbe's going to be lining up on the inside of row 2. That's going to be right behind J.R. Shepard. So if the low line is preferred for some of these guys, Kibbe's going to have a pretty strong advantage over Justin Morton when the green flag flies.
And watch, if J.R. Shepard has a good launch here, what might that mean for the outside lane? Will they get bottled up?
We'll see how this goes. 45 laps to go this time. J.R. Shepard in control of the field. Morning to his outside. Off and away goes Shepard. Good launch. Morning not able to keep it side by side into the corner. Kibbe, though, trying to go side by side for second. Low. Takes him run for fourth position. Meanwhile, on the high side, Shepard seeing what he needs to see in his mirror. 2 by 2. Couple rows deep.
Oh, that battle behind just absolutely allowing for J.R. Shepard to pull away Justin Morton, giving absolutely no quarter on that high line. He's not pinching Kenny Kibbe down. There, I think he made a little bit of contact with the outside wall, trying to get the car slowed down into 3 and 4. It looks like advantage Kibbe off the corner, but Morton really able to carry good momentum to the stripe.
And aboard James Lowe here, watch out for this 99. If Morton cannot fend off Kenny Kibbe, this 99 car is going to hop onto the podium.
99 taking inspiration from the new Trackhouse team and in the circuit for the Real World NASCAR Cup Series this season. He's trying to also throw back a bit to the SRT, the Charger SRT cars that ran around the mid-2000s today. But Mark Herzog is also in this fight. Herzog, we've seen have some great speed. Remember, was a top 8 contender last week. Now is trying to wait for an opportunity to jump up as Morton still keeps it side by side. This has now been for 5 laps straight.
And this is exactly what you want to see out of this kind of short track racing. But I really think Morton's tires are starting to go. You see just how squiggly he's getting off the line. That allows Kenny Kibbe to pull fully in front of him. And now Morton is locked in a battle for P3 with James Lowe rather than Kibbe for P2.
Morton ends up scraping the wall a little bit. That's where some of that lost momentum came into play. Of note, one driver is off the racetrack, Donnie Moore. The rest of the field still battling for position, other than Speeds, who was the only driver 1 lap down. Low slides up the racetrack as that checks up the battle, and right now they are losing a couple tenths overall per couple laps in this fight. Devin, eventually something's gonna have to give you.
And it looks like it's gonna be James Lowe who gives. Herzog, Mr. In and Out for now looking for the 4th position. This might just give Herzog a chance to get on the podium tonight, as he's putting that 99 car almost clear here. How about that, taking advantage of an opportunity? Lowe got just a little bit tight, and now that 57 machine is going to have an opportunity to run at Justin Morton. But I think the biggest part of this battle has to be that J.R. Shepard has now increased his lead to a 2nd here over the rest of the field. That's the largest lead tonight by that 98 machine.
One is over Kenny Kibbe, near contact of note between Herzog and James Lowe after Lowe nearly got loose off the corner. As we take a look at the leader, now it's up an extra half a tenth this lap.
It is, and Justin, we've been talking all night long about Justin Morton keeping an eye on his tires, but I gotta say it's James Lowe. It really looks like his tires are starting to go. He is just absolutely unable to get the power down off of the corner without a little bit of slip. We ride on board with Belke. That's Lowe right in front of him. You can see just how squirrely that car in front of him is. A little bit better there, taking a lower line, but if he tries to get maximum power down off the corners, it gets very squirrely.
Morton, you have to give him credit, really trying to hold on to these positions right now for the podium at the moment. 32 to go. Mark Herzog nearly spins it. Herzog holds on to it. James Lowe now to his outside.
Herzog did a great job holding on to that car. I thought that was going to be much worse, but he's still able to fend for this 4th position. Lowe trying to get a little bit of that boost on the outside, does clear that 57 machine. I know you hate losing 2 spots potentially when you're trying to fight for that podium, but it looked like that might have almost been worse than falling down a bit.
That, remember, slides like that light up your tires, and that could be treacherous now for the later stages of this race. With 30 laps to go, the lead is down to 9/10 now. Kenny Kibbe is slowly chipping in the gap now into 14.
Indeed, as we continue to watch this battle, you see there Lowe riding a little bit higher line off of the corner. Herzog able to keep it nice and tight and tidy all the way throughout. Those cars going to go back into single file, though, as Herzog just trying to game up his opponent and figure out the best way by.
Look on board once again with Herzog, and they're back to the old line once again. Herzog, you can see with the steering wheel motions, though, really starting to battle a bit of those loose conditions we talked about. Morton's been really having to bobble the wheel off turn 4. How about full near correct to the right to try and save it off the corners?
This is getting fun. This is looking more like the Dirt Streets talking on Friday night than it is the Grand National Series. It's always fun to watch. Maybe not as much fun to drive. When usually your right front goes out, you're getting tighter conditions. But here at Sobo, just the way that this track is built, we're working here on the 1994 configuration of this track. It gets looser as you go, and it makes it more and more difficult to get the throttle down on exit. And that's why you see some drivers on the exit of the corner gain a little bit more momentum, because they have that wheel straighter, so they can put that throttle straight down, and that gives you, maybe not a lot, but at least a little bit of that extra speed and a little bit extra distance going down the straightaways.
Go back up front. We mentioned Kenny Kibbe is trying to close up. The gap has stabilized back to about a 2nd, but is trading lap times is the key thing here, DJ, with the race leader in Shepard. He just can't get the extra time he needs to fully get to that back bumper. Get a caution. It could get interesting as Kibbe scrapes the wall.
Very much there, and a little bit of that mistake there from Kenny Kibbe. That's going to hurt his time, but they have just been absolutely swapping fast laps back and forth, really matching each other's pace within 100th of a second. There you can see that gap represented just a tick under 1 second between the two. So Kibbe trying to do it. You can see there the wheel, as Devin was talking about, trying to fight that opposite lock as you get the power down coming off the corner. Little bit, a couple hundreds back into that time for Kenny Kibbe, and back up to a full 2nd.
See both drivers handling, working fairly well as well. You can see with the steering wheel motions, just having to hit those bumps, and it is a fairly bumpy racetrack. Keep in mind that for many drivers, including some of them in tonight's action here as well, Devin, this was a rookie track back in the early 2010s. Back in iRacing's heyday, or start of its days, I should say, all the way back as far back as the start of this platform. So it's a track where a lot of drivers can have a ton of experience with it, but in different cars. Keep in mind, this was was a track known on the rookie schedule when they drove Legends car still as the rookie car.
Gosh, could you imagine street stock rookie class in Sobo? I mean, ARCA D class is already difficult enough, but it's fun to see these story tracks becoming more story in the virtual world. As now Mike Allen is looking here to the inside of Austin Belke. Getting stuck on that outside lane. He does not want to give up a spot to Kurt Smith as well, you would think. But Kurt Smith is in 8th right now, which would be the provisional pole for next week.
Which would be one of his best starting positions of the season if he can make it whole. It's a matter of how he wants to play this again as Belke nearly smacks the wall. Up the track he goes, all the way up to 6th. Kurt Smith nearly clears by for 7th as he nearly smacks the left front fender of the 24. Kurt Smith with a better grip. Still not able to clear on by quite yet. Looks like Kurt Smith, though, is a little bit quicker.
I know I made it sound like you want to be an 8th and that Belke was going to try to be an 8th. He did not do that on purpose. He almost snagged the wall there. That was 100% not on purpose.
Yeah, Belke's tires are starting to go off a ton as well in the corners as Kurt Smith is clear. P3 also keeping Justin Morton busy because James Lowe is the fastest car on the racetrack by about half a tenth right now.
He is indeed, and there you can see that wide to low line that he is running, just trying to reduce any slippage on those tires whatsoever, trying to run down that 3rd place number 9 of Justin Morton. The gap currently down to about a half a second between these two guys. Morton doing a very good job to hold on to his tires here in the later stages of this race, but James Lowe is coming fast.
And real quick before this race is over, I think that we need to give a shout out to the 59 car, Mike Allen. According to our sheets, he is a sim driver in his late 50s, a former late model street stock crew member, but he is from South Boston, Virginia. So this is a car, or a driver I guess I should say, that this is his home track. This is actually his legitimate home track and actually now works part-time as a security operator at BIR. It's not nearby, but at least still in Virginia. So it doesn't matter how well you do. I know this isn't what he wants, but it's always cool to drive at your home track. Real life what works for.
Absolutely, Curly holding on at the moment to 11th position. That battle is still going on, by the way, for what is 7th position. The driver who doesn't get this position in the battle actually ends up starting on the pole next week. The tough part is, if they back down, Todd Liston can take advantage of contact. Belke up the track, Kurt Smith finally clears on by. Liston backs up.
And Justin, on that last lap, that was just a little bit of reverse pinches. Ooh, Austin Belke venting his frustration into the back of Kurt Smith.
Bit of bumping and banging now as Liston had to check up off the gas as well now. Liston now shuffled back to 9th, the first driver out of the inversion spot. Lead, by the way, has grown to 1.3 seconds, 7 laps to go. This time as Belke tries to reach the back of the 6th.
Ooh, that's a little tight.
You can tell that he's trying to get back there. He wants those points.
He very much does, and you know, he was having some pretty good success running on that higher line, but I think after he got spooked, he saw on board and he almost ran up into the wall. That may have just shied him away from doing so back down to the low line as we ride on board with him. But Belke, I think, very frustrated to have fallen back this far, trying as he might so late on the brakes there to get into that 7th place spot.
Down to the final 5 laps, coming up to 4 to go. This time as the leader's crossing the stripe. Belke backing up the corner once again while J.R. Shepard running off and away has pulled another 2/10s in the past 3 laps. It's been a picture-perfect night again for J.R. Shepard. Had some battles early on, but has been able to keep the car nice and tidy up at the front.
And for Belke here, if he ends up in the 8th position, he will start on pole next week if he shows up to the show. And some of Belke's best finishes the past few seasons have been when he starts on that front row. So next week going to Nashville Fairgrounds, that might be a really good opportunity for him if he's able to start on that front row.
Absolutely, especially with a track known for its potential trouble, and in some cases, its intense battles. As Kurt Smith having that intense battle, they're coming up to the white flag this time by Belke now over the back bumper as Shepard has taken the white. Final lap from South Boston now for the race leader. He will stay behind Mike Allen as J.R. Shepard and what will be a 4th consecutive time wins at South Boston. He wins the BRL's Grand National Series once more at this circuit. Kenny Kibbe second, Justin Morton rounds out the top 3, Low Herzog your top 5. Kurt Smith does hold on to 7th spot in front of Austin Belke. Belke will get the first inversion spot. And another dominating performance as a result here, DJ, for J.R. Shepard. It's been a track that's been friendly to him in the past, and we see once again another strong performance.
Exactly. There is absolutely no beating J.R. Shepard when he is on form. And Devitt, you said it absolutely spot on when I was speculating about him maybe wearing out his tires. He just looks like he drives too aggressive at the start, but knows how to preserve that car better than anybody in the game. So yet another well-deserved win over some stiff competition for J.R. Shepard.
And DJ, I mean, I said the same thing for about 2-3 seasons. Like, oh man, I'm not sure about this. He's run so hard. And at this point, I just go, I know it's possible. I don't know how he does it. I know not to speculate that about JR anymore, because then he just makes me look silly, I feel like.
On that note, post-race coverage coming up in just a moment. You're watching the Global SimRacing Channel of the virtual South Boston Speedway. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the virtual South Boston Speedway, once again in South Boston, Virginia, for tonight's coverage of the BRL's Grand National Series and what was a thrilling race tonight. Just one caution flag on the way to another victory for J.R. Shepard in this series. It's his 4th consecutive at Sobo in this series. Kenny Kibbe finishes in second, 1.8 seconds back. He got as close as 9/10 in the closing 30 laps, while Justin Morton held on to 3rd position. James Lowe ends up being your biggest mover tonight, +7, up to 4th position, all the way from outside the top 10 after his rough round last week, while Mark Herzog rounds out the top 5. Mike Holloway, Kurt Smith, and Austin Belke round up the inversion spots, Belke getting that provisional pole position. Joe Sagawa finishes in 9th. Todd Liston rounds out your top 10, DJ.
Mike Allen able to bring the car home in 11th place, and Ruben Altisse, an early leader in the race, just plummeting down the order to 12th, finishing in the first of the cars a lap down. Steven Spies, the reason for our only caution here today, finished 1 lap down, and Lowell Jewell parking it 14 laps down with Donnie Moore 58 laps down.
So a couple of drivers with some early DNFs, but J.R. Shepard and Eric dominating victory here at Sobo. It's your 4th consecutive, JR, here at this racetrack. How are you feeling?
Pretty good considering the way last week went and the way the rest of the night's going. It's not been a friendly track to me, and seems like it comes and goes here depending on which car we're running. But yeah, things just kind of played out tonight with the track position and being in the right place at the right time. So I was able to save quite a bit on my tires and just have a smooth race.
What made this race different compared to the others you've had in this car in the past?
One thing, and it's kind of been like this the last couple of times, the car's really tight here. You really have to back up your entry and not be over aggressive with your braking or just your center speed through the corner. So just working on that and trying to make sure I wasn't turning the steering wheel too much or over applying the throttle.
Now, next race goes to Nashville. Your thoughts on going to the fairgrounds, a track which is going to be high-paced and potentially high-tempered.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a home race, and I love that track. So it's going to be hard too, though. So the fairgrounds is pretty bumpy on the inside, and it's very easy to get loose down there. So it's probably going to be a top groove track and a little difficult to pass. But maybe you have some luck and we can get to the front there.
Who do you want to thank for the run tonight?
Yeah, just really appreciate the Bootleg Racing League for giving us a place to come and race on Saturday nights, and we do it on Friday nights too, so it's a lot of fun. And just thanks to my team, Different Path Motorsports, and hopefully we can keep this going.
Congratulations on the run tonight.
I appreciate it, and congratulations to Kenny and Justin. They ran a great race.
Yes, indeed. Congratulations once again to J.R. Shepard, your winner here tonight at Sopo. Second place, Kenny Kibbe, is with DJ Clark.
Well, Kenny, we were promised that this race may have a second groove come in, and it certainly did look like it did. So I have to ask you, was running up there to get around folks, was that a matter of necessity, or was there some genuine speed up that way?
Basically, the top line is not really the preferred line when you're running by yourself necessarily, but to make passes, that's where you kind of needed to be. Because you were just able to kind of pinch off the guy on the bottom, and he wouldn't have a good run off the corner. That's really the only reason why you'd run up there. The bottom is just so tough to get the car to turn and to keep the grip off the corner too. But that's kind of the only way to make passes, though, is to get somebody's outside. But the problem with that was the car would push so bad going and entering the corner, because you kind of got to overdrive it getting in to get somebody's outside. But it was good on restarts, but we only had 2 starts counting the initial start, which is a good thing. Congrats to everybody for running a really clean race this week. But just like running by yourselves like that, you'd prefer the bottom.
That's certainly what it did kind of end up looking like. So near the closing stages of the race, looked like you had something for JR. You were closing in, taking a couple of hundreds here, a couple of hundreds there, and then obviously by the end, JR able to pull out a little bit for you. How close were you tonight? Was that a tire wear issue? What was going on?
Yeah, so on that last restart, restarting third, that was my one chance to get by Justin, and I had to get that spot no matter what it took. Because second place was a decent place to be, since we don't allow the leader to have lane choice in this league. Second place was a good place to restart, so I was hoping I could grab second, get another restart, and have a chance at JR. But we never got another restart, so I settled in the second, tried to cool my tires off, and tried to kind of run them down little by little, but I think really JR probably wasn't pushing at all, and I pushed just a little bit, but that battle with Justin didn't do me any favors for my tires, and I just didn't really have as good of a car at the end as JR did.
Well, looking forward to the rest of the season. Obviously, we travel to Nashville next week, but are there any tracks in particular you're looking forward to that you think you can really take the fight to JR and maybe move up ahead in this championship?
Oh gosh, I don't exactly remember what schedule lies ahead, but I know like last season we won at Lanier, and I would assume we're going there again. That's a great track, a nice like rhythm track for us. But I going back to South Boston, I'm just glad to kind of scratch this one off my list because it's probably nearly my weakest track, I would say. I could tell JR had so much better of a line that he was running than me. It's one track I still need to figure out, but we'll move on to next week and try to do one spot better.
Well, if you get a second on one of your worst tracks, I'd hate to see what you look like on your absolute best. But Kenny, anybody you need to thank on your way out tonight?
Yeah, just everybody at the Bootleg Racing League. 3 great races this week. We ran much cleaner in the Grand National cars than we did last season, so props to everybody there. And you guys at GSRC for the broadcast, as always. JR, great drive by him again. Good win for him, and good run for Justin as well. Thanks to Nocturnal Gaming and everybody that rides along with me every week when we do these races.
Well, thank you, Kenny. And again, congratulations on a second place here tonight.
Thanks, DJ.
And finally, our wonderful Devin has caught up with third place finisher Justin Morton.
Wonderful, Devin. I haven't got that one before. Thank you, DJ. But nonetheless, Justin Morton, for the third time in 3 races, finishes third tonight here at South Boston. And Justin, you had a shot there at P2, but that restart was just a little bit sketchy. Take us through that final restart, I guess the only restart of this race here, and why it was so tough being hung out there on the top.
Yeah, I knew it was going to be rough once we had that caution. I knew Kenny was wanting to get to JR and put pressure on him, but that outside, it's fast, but it's really rough. So I tried to make it work. It clearly didn't, but I managed to get in line in front of James and worked from there.
Nonetheless, even though you do get third, your worst finish this year is fourth. I can't say that you can complain at that, but you are still third here in the point series. We're only 4 races in, but what does the outlook for the rest of this year look like when it looks pretty obvious? You're racing around the 3 or 4 that you need to beat week in and week out.
Yeah, I've actually made a joke with Kenny about how I would be Chick Hicks from Cars, and they are the king in Lightning, always finishing third to him. It's a little frustrating, but I know I'm doing good, so hopefully something I'll eventually break through and be able to get him in a race.
Nonetheless, bringing it home on the podium still, who do you have to thank for another P3 spot here this season?
Yeah, I'd like to thank my team, Total Downforce Racing, Pixel Dust for the amazing paint, Black Box for sponsoring us, Lowell for running this amazing league, and everybody who runs in it. And thank you guys for doing the amazing broadcast.
Well, it is our pleasure. Chick Hicks, Justin Morton coming home in third place tonight here at Sobo. Congrats, Justin.
Thank you.
Once again, I'd like to thank Justin Morton, Kenny Kivy, and J.R. Shepard taking the time to speak with us during post-race coverage here tonight. Now, real quick, final thoughts on this one. First things first, Devin, an exciting finish to this one overall. Exciting domination, I should say, for J.R. Shepard.
Yeah, some good old short track racing we have once again here, like it is every week here in BRL. And that's the fun part, is it's short tracks every week, but every short track has its own identity. But again, even last year when he didn't win the championship, we're 4 races through this season, J.R. Shepard is the guy to beat, and you're going to have to not only outpace him, you're going to have to out-finesse him some way. And I don't think anyone has really gone a good way to do that week in and week out, but it'll be fun. Right now, the top 3, even James Lowe, still pretty tight up there 4 races through.
Next race, Nashville, as talked about. DJ, your thoughts for that one?
Well, it's one of my home races. Spending a good time in Nashville. It is very, very bumpy down on that inside. Very hard to go. And I think what J.R. Shepard said is going to be right. It's going to be a top groove track, and that's going to be a nice change and something fun to watch this year.
On that note, we'd like to thank you for tuning in to tonight's exciting action for the virtual South Boston Speedway. I'd also like to thank Bootleg Racing League for organizing this exciting series, as well as the companies who provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed on screen. Additional thanks go to Jude Law and provides her wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. Thanks to the team today as well in DJ, Devin, and Sean. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. If you'd like to help support the channel, you can check out our merchandise for sale at gsrc.stormby.com, or check out our social media on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. Don't forget to head over to YouTube page and hit that big red subscribe button, as well as the notification bell, so you don't miss a moment from the Global Sim Racing Channel. As talked about, the next race goes to the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway. Coverage starts at approximately 8:50 p.m. Eastern Time on February the 6th. Be sure to tune in, as well as to South Sound's iRacing Series coming up in just about 20 to 25 minutes from now. There's web upcoming races for other series listed on screen, so be sure to check those out and mark them down in your calendar. Until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.